Welcome to Gulfstream today from beautiful Gulfstream Park. I'm Acacia Courtney, joined again today by Pete Aiello, our track announcer, doing double duty. It's Black-Eyed Susan Day at Pimlico at our sister track in Maryland, so lots of exciting action going on over there. But we still have 9 races right here at Gulfstream.
Yeah, 9 very competitive races, too. We have another carryover in the Rainbow Six this afternoon. And it's amazing to me, we had multiple winners in the Rainbow Six with a $112 winner in the sequence yesterday.
Yeah, there was a couple of long shots that hit the board and one big 50-to-1 winner yesterday. So lots of excitement, and we're going to keep that excitement rolling today. Before we jump into our first race selections, let's give you a little taste of the kind of wagering that you'll get today. There's always the race 1 starts the 50-cent early pick 5, and I'll have a ticket for you there. And then we have starting later in the card, the rolling super high 5, $1 rolling super high 5. There is a carryover of nearly $2,000 in that rolling super high 5. That's with any race of more than 7 horses entered there. And then we do have that Rainbow Six that Pete was talking about. There's a $45,000 plus carryover that starts in race number 4 today on a 9-race card. And then there's always some excitement and fun going on here at Gulfstream Park. Race number 5 starts the 50-cent late pick 5, and Pete will have a ticket for you there and give you a little bit of an insight. We had a little fun this morning already. Now we've got some picks, and hopefully got everything all sorted out. And you know, when it's Preakness week, everybody gets a little giddy and a little excited, and got to make sure we know which horses we're talking about, right, Pete?
Absolutely. And you know the great thing about this is live television, fans, so there's no do-overs here.
No do-overs at all when Acacia has a bit of a laughing fit. So with that, let's dive right in and go to race number 1. It is a mile and a 16th, the maiden special weight for the maidens 3-year-olds and up, and that starts the early pick 5. And give you a quick peek at my ticket here. It's $48 ticket. I was not able to find a single in the first 5 races here. I went 4 deep. I know that there's only 6 horses, but this first race really felt like a wide open event to me. 3-2 favorite right now on the 3 horse that I do have on my ticket. Then I went 3 deep and 2 deep in the remainder of the final 3 legs. So $48 there, pretty affordable. And I'll have the Rainbow Six coming up later. Pete will have his late pick 5. But as I mentioned, that 3 horse is 3-2 right now. That's Anaximandros, who is taking all the early money. And this one is one that I used on the top of my 3 races. And I see, Pete, you didn't use him at all.
No, I didn't use him at all. For me, it's hard to take a 3-2 on a price on a horse that was 100+ to 1 last time out. It's the old racing axiom: if you don't go to the wedding, you shouldn't go to the funeral.
Totally understandable. And this one, as you mentioned, huge long shot last time out and finished a really respectable second when stretching out to the mile. We'll stretch out a little bit more to the mile in a 16th. I used this one on top. I also used the 5 Cowboys Hero, one of the 2 Giuseppe Iadiscernia horses in here. You used that one on top.
Yeah, let's take a look at his debut run across town at Gulfstream Park West. Now, this is when he was a 2-year-old. Cowboys Hero certainly needed the experience. You'll look at him down toward the inside. He had already made a big move to get into 4th, but he's shifting ground. You see him there. He has no idea what he's doing, and he actually brushes the rail there. So it looked to me like Jockey Paco Lopez is just trying to teach him something, and obviously something went wrong in that race because he made that middle move. He was green, he shifted ground and then backed up, but he's been laid up since then. Now, ordinarily, there's probably about 5 or 6 horses on the backside that could be in that situation, you know, ran in their debuts, ran green, and then didn't run all that well. The thing about it is Cowboys Hero was 4-5 to win his debut. So clearly he showed some talent in the morning. This is his first start as a 3-year-old, his first start around the surface here at Gulfstream Park, and he's a good price. He's 9-2. I'll use him on top and hope he's grown up.
Yeah, he also has some interesting breeding as well. He's really well related. He was a $550,000 son of Cowboy Cal, a half to Opportunity, who was a multiple Grade 1, Grade 2 winner, and third, a really solid third last time out in the Dubai World Cup behind California Chrome. So some interesting breeding there. Giuseppe also has the number 1 Alcalino, a first-time starter, and you used this horse too, since you're on that barn.
Yeah, exactly. That was the reason why I figured that, again, given the resumes of the horses like the 2 and 3, I passed on them. So the 1 just merited some consideration. It's interesting to me that this horse is taking a little bit of early action. Tab that tote board for more clues on the liveness of the rail runner.
Absolutely think that that's something that you have to keep in mind there. This one's debuting with Lasix, and I stared at this one for a while and decided to land on the 5 instead. To round out my top 3, I used the 2, Reynard Fox, and as you mentioned, not too much in the resume so far, and finished 4th last time out, but this one does have quite a bit of early speed, and I thought if he could sit a pretty good trip from the 2 post, again, this was a really wide open affair.
Obviously it is, because there's a 6-horse field in front of us, and we've used 5 of the 6. The 4, Terry's Charm, has something that we talked about a little bit yesterday. Steve Dwoskin does not ever win first time out. I mean, doesn't run a jump. This horse ran really, really well first time for Steve Dwoskin. He'll only get better here this afternoon. He's 8-1. If I can get 8-1, he becomes part of my play.
Absolutely, you get some good prices there. Moving on to race number 2. It is 7 furlongs on the main track, a claiming race. The purse is $15,000 for the fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. And I used the number 1, Twinkling Time, on the top of my ticket. Pete used this horse in second, but I want to go back and show the race that this horse ran last time out. Finished 19 3/4 lengths behind the leader, so basically 20 lengths behind, just absolutely no factor. You'll see she's coming out from post number 8 here, just completely jumps in the air at the start and was absolutely no factor throughout the rest of the race. Got really shuffled back early, just completely done. You can see the comments here. Hopped at the start, no menace, and that was really it. So she's going to add blinkers now for the first time in a couple of starts. If you look 2 back, when she was claimed before moving over into the barn of Rohan Crichton, she did have a nice victory here at Gulfstream, going 6 furlongs. Will stretch out a little bit to the 7, and the addition of blinkers once again I think will help her. And
she's back real quick. She's back in just 6 days, so it obviously didn't take much out of her that last race. Probably the bad start. They just protected her, and now they're ready to fire a big shot today. I used her as well.
Yeah, and who did you use on top then?
The number 5 horse, Flash Jack. She makes a barn switch here this afternoon. She's been facing better. Those 2 things taken into the fact that she will be a good price and the fact that this is a very competitive race. I'm in her corner, but this is a tricky race, I thought.
It is a tricky race, and I landed on the 4 Starship Tammy in second. This one, very impressive last time out, and I must admit I didn't use her on top when she ran, and she ended up finishing well last time at the 62.50 level. She's going to stay here and try to keep that momentum going. And then we both used the 2 BT's Baby, who was a strong second last time, just by a neck, and she'll get Elvis Trujillo aboard once again.
She's the likely favorite in here. She'll be charging hard from the back, and if she runs her usual race, she should be right there.
Okay, on to race number 3. This one is 7 furlongs, also on the main track. The purse is $18,000 in the claiming race. It's for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 3 races or have not won a race since November 19th, so the past 6 months, or 3-year-olds. We both use the number 5 competitive player on top, who's taking a big drop today.
Yeah, big drop indeed. Coming out of a stakes race last time out, won by Saving Time. Go 2 races back. She's 4th behind Too Clever by Half. Too Clever by Half came back to go favorite in that stakes race that competitive player ran in last time out. She has not lived up to her name in her last 2 races. She's not been very competitive, but that's just good for me because you need to drop in class. If you're not competitive, do something different. She's doing something here different today. She's taking a big drop in class, and she has the services of jockey Misael Jaramillo. I'm always a big fan of that move.
Absolutely. For all those things that you just mentioned, I think that this is right where she needs to be to get back to that winner's circle. Her last win was back in August of 2015, so it's been quite a while since she's crossed the wire first. And then we both used the 3 Adriana's Dream in second. This one coming off a nice victory last time out at the 12-5 non-winners of 2 level, won by 2 1/4 lengths with Jaramillo aboard. As Pete mentioned, Jaramillo will instead ride competitive player today, but she'll get Leonel Reyes aboard.
Yeah, and Adriana's Dream got a perfect trip up the fence last time out. That flattered the distance in which she won. She was probably going to win anyway, but she'll need another good trip from Reyes here today.
And then I rounded up my top 3 with the number 1, Sherry Angel, a 7-year-old mare. She's 8 for 43. She obviously has the most experience in this race. She definitely has the most wins. It's been a long time since she won. Her past couple of races have been a little bit disappointing, but looking at the kind of trip that she might be able to sit from the rail, of nice work coming in on April 16th at Palm Meadows. She went 4 furlongs and 49 flat, and she'll get Luca Panici aboard today.
Yeah, best of the rest scenario, I think, are the 1 and 2 in that race. In case you're both in agreement here on numbers 5 and 3 as your key contenders.
Okay, and on to race number 4. 7 furlongs on the main track. It's a maiden claiming, and the purse is $21,000 for the maidens, fillies, 3-year-olds and up. Before we get onto that, we're going to take a quick break, and then it'll be Rainbow Six time. Welcome back. It's now Rainbow Six time. We're moving on to race number 4, 7 furlongs on the main track, maiden claiming for the fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. There is one scratch in this 4th race. Scratch the number 4, Healy Rose, which leaves us with a field of 5. And this is an interesting race. I'll give you a quick pick at my Rainbow Six ticket before we launch into it. This one, $43.20. I went 3 deep, not expecting a scratch here, so you can, figure out if you want to spend that much or pare it down or even add more horses. Up to you if you wanted to do that. 3 deep in the first 2 legs, 4 deep in the 6th race, 3, 2, and I did find my single in the last race today. Hopefully you make it all the way over to there, and that's with Hot. So hopefully we make it to the race 9 and get that single in Hot, and Hot keeps the hot streak going. But in this race, I used the number 6, Proud Lady on top, who is 0 for 14 so far, but I figured with the company that she's been keeping, it looks like it's going to be now or never for Proud Lady to find the winner's circle. And coming off of the last couple of efforts, not too strong there, but this will be her 2nd time running at the $25,000 tag maiden level, and she's also cutting back in distance a little bit. She stretched out last time to 1 mile and an 1/8, and we'll try the 7 furlongs today, which I think might be a bit more comfortable for her. Pete, you used the number 3, These Truths on top.
Yeah, and I'll give you the reason why. There's 4 horses in this race that have been based here locally. In case you just talked about the 6, Proud Lady, the 1, 2, and 5 are the other ones. I didn't like any of them. So for me, I had to go with the horse that's never raced here locally, number 3, These Truths. I'm treating her like a first-time starter because her first race was not much to look at. She ran at Indiana Downs up in Shelbyville, Indiana, on turf at 5 furlongs. Tried to show a little bit of speed, was quickly outpaced, and then that was the end of that. But she hasn't raced since then, so maybe something went wrong. She's going out for a conditioner in Dane Kabisky, who does very, very good work. And speaking candidly, I don't trust anybody to have enough speed in here to clear the field. So, in fact, if the 3 is fresh and ready to go, she could be in front, and I'm not enamored with what's behind her, so I'll take the tactical advantage if I can get it.
Totally with you on that one. She's coming off about a 9-month layoff. And a stat for you with trainer Dane Kabisky, moving maiden special weight to maiden claiming like this one is in the past 5 years. And this one has a pretty limited sample for him, and this is turf to dirt as well, which These Truths is also doing. 2 for 14, so 9% winning, but in the money 64% of the time, and a huge ROI, $4.44 when maiden special weights, maiden claiming, and turf to dirt. So all of those things coming through, you can possibly get a good payoff on These Truths as well. A really positive ROI there, and I use this horse in 3rd to run in the money. As you see, 64% in the money, pretty good there. And like I said, I figured it was now or never for Proud Lady, and then rounded out my top 3 with Long Distance, who does have a little bit of speed, but if These Truths blast off, Long Distance might be left behind.
Yep, I think that's true. As you can see, we have all of them in the start of the Rainbow Six, the field of 5. It's a tough field of 5 because I really challenge anybody to have a strong opinion on this race, because for every angle that you can use on one horse, there's 3 or 4 angles you can use against that same horse.
Totally understand. And you also used the 2 and the 1 recent transactions. Let's hear quickly about them, since we might as well cover the entire field, since we seem to be covering that anyway.
Yeah, Honeymoon Springs last race, that's the 2 horse for Ramon Moya, was uncharacteristically bad. She ran well in the debut. She was claimed out of that race, came back, went off 2 to 1, and didn't fire at all. It almost was so bad that it makes me give her a pass for that last race. The 1 recent transactions, her last race, at least in my opinion, was ugly. She was even money, finished 4th, beaten 3 lengths. The running line doesn't tell the story, though. It doesn't look that bad, but looking at it aesthetically on the racetrack, she just never fired at all and got within 3 lengths of winning. So I think this race for me has a lot more questions than it does answers.
Absolutely, and just a quick note on recent transactions. I took her last time in that race and decided to pass today, though she does add blinkers, so we'll see if that helps her a bit. And now we'll move on to race number 5. It's 7.5 furlongs on the turf, a claiming race. The purse is $24,000 for the 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 2 races, or 3-year-olds. There is 1 scratch of the main track only, the 8 Baduke, and it is time for Pete's late pick 5 ticket.
Well, you can see on your screen we're not in agreement on this race either, but again, it doesn't surprise me, not because of anything other than the fact that these are really competitive races. There's a lot of different ways to go in here. I'm going to try to start it off here with the late pick 5. I'm going to go 4 deep in this race. I don't like this race. This is the toughest race of the late pick 5 sequence in my view. I'll use the 1, Mr. Stipa from the rail. 2 out of 3 of his last races were very, very good. I'll use the 2, Al Almirante, who's my top pick, based on a company line switch here today. Juan Rizzo trains. He'll be a good number. I'll use one of the two favorites. I'll try to beat Donation. I'll use the other favorite, Vea, and then I'll use the Terry Pompey horse, the 6, Whites of Their Eyes. 3 deep in the next race. Hope I can get through that. Single comes in the 7th race with Primetime Tommy, and I'm 3 deep to complete the ticket. So it's tricky. You're going to have to find that single, and for me, it was Primetime Tommy. No argument with your single, no Acacia Hot. Those are 2 possible singles in the late pick 5.
All right, so we'll see how it plays out. And as you mentioned, we're not too in agreement on this one. Here's another one that's a pretty wide open race. I used the number 4 Donation on top, who you said that you're trying to beat. This one is taking a big drop as well, coming out of the English Channel Stakes, where he was just slammed back at the start and just didn't run a step. Sometimes having that drop, and then as you mentioned with one of the other horses who we said coming out that didn't have any running in that past race, probably didn't take too much out of him, so he's coming back pretty fresh. That was back on May 7th, so about 13 days, a little under 2 weeks to come back. Looking back towards the end of 2015, he was keeping some good form, had a couple nice victories, and then through 2016 just doesn't seem to be in the same horse, and I think that the drop might really be the key for the number 4 Donation, but you use the 2 Almirante on top.
Yeah, this is just, again, I have no real strong opinion in this race other than the fact that I think the favorites are vulnerable. You have to ask yourself with both the 4 and 5, are you worried about the drop? Are you worried about their form? If you're not worried about one, are you worried about the other? For me, I'm worried about both in both cases. So I'm just trying to beat the favorite. El Almirante for veteran trainer Juan Rizzo. This horse is usually reliable enough to just continue at a 1 pace. Might work here this afternoon. And I went with this horse on top. No strong opinion, though.
Agree with you there. And you did mention, I think, that you used the 5 Vea in your pick 5 ticket. This one trained by Peter Walder. A stat for you on Peter Walder. In the past 5 years, moving route to sprint on turf like this one is going from 1 mile and a 16th distance to the 7.5 furlongs. 7 for 22, 32% winning, but 55% in the money with a positive ROI, $2.33. Last time out, didn't really do well at the distance at all. Was beaten, very well beaten 6th last time. Does get apprentice Christian Navarro aboard today, so a little bit of weight relief as well. Looking back into March and February, running at Gulfstream, had some solid finishes there, did go off as the beaten favorite, and I agree. I think that favorites are vulnerable in this race, but I thought to keep Vea on my ticket, and you went with the 1 instead.
Yeah, the number 1 horse in here, Mr. Stipas. 2 of his last 3 races are very good. His last race was excellent behind High Quality Prince, who was dropping for Sano, another contender in this race to start the late pick 5. It's tough, though. The picks reflect that. It
is, and then we both use the number 6, Whites of Their Eyes, to round it out. The 6th race is 7.5 furlongs on the turf. It's a claiming race. The purse is $18,000 for 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 2 races. And this one, we're kind of in agreement on a couple of the same horses. I use the number 1, Quite the Issue, on top, and this one looks like coming in, always a bridesmaid, never a bride quite yet, and maybe he might be able to find that winner's circle today, second off about a 2-month layoff.
Yeah, it appears he's got the fastest figures in the race, but there's a horse in here that I'm intrigued by. I'll go ahead and show you his debut run across the state at Tampa Bay Downs. Talking about my top play here, the number 2, Zach's Image, for trainer Monty Thomas. This is a classic South Florida bred, though, by Hal's Image out of Allendar. I'm probably the only person in the building that remembers Allendar. She was awesome because she was a very cheap horse, but she won about 16 races. Look at the move Zach's Image makes. Jockey Chelsea Kaiser pulls the trigger on this first-time starter and loops up on the outside of heavily favored Mr. Radar. The horse from this horse just ran by, Mr. Radar, was supposed to win and win easy. Zach's Image came off the turn there and just widens the advantage on Mr. Radar, winning impressively. They got a little ambitious, though. This was a $16,000 debut run. They put him in against Whiskey Tree last time out. That's not going to work. You can't chase Whiskey Tree to a half and 45 and 3/4 and 10. Whiskey Tree, by the way, is stakes tested and stakes placed. So Zach's Image back into reality this afternoon, stretching out around 2 turns for the first time, getting on the grass for the first time. So those are 2 unknown variables, but I trust Monty Thomas's work, and this horse will be a good number.
I passed on that horse just because of the unknowns, but Pete is definitely much more of a Tampa expert, so it's definitely one to keep in mind if you're looking, especially for a better price. This one, 8-1 on the morning line, and then I used the number 8, Kilo, in second, who does have a maiden win on the dirt. This one's coming over from Tampa. Had a couple of races on the turf. Tried an allowance last time out, and that was a no-go, but did run in this level, the 16,000 non-winners of 2 at Gulfstream back in April before going over to try that allowance company at Tampa, and ran very well behind Soul Man there. Was beaten only by 2 lengths to be second. So going off of that, if this horse runs like he did 2 back the last time he came over to Tampa, then I think this one could be a contender. And we both use the 6 game prize.
Game prize is a 1-pace type horse. He needs the same trip he got last time. He might have a better result. He needs to track from an inside position, and I think he's rounding into form here. Luca Panici with a return call.
Race number 7 is 1 mile on the main track. It's a claiming race. The purse is $17,000 for 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 2 races. And look, we have the same horse on top, and I believe that this was your single, Primetime Tommy.
He has to be the single only because there's really no other horses to key around in this race. And if you look at his last race, he's a big candidate for Bounce City. He ran a 70 figure last time out. If he runs a 70 figure here today, no exaggeration, he'll probably win by 7 or 8 lengths, like he did 2 starts ago when he won by 11 to break his maiden. I like the fact that he's now been tested against winners, lost to Dancing in the Heat, who was a well-met horse from the barn of Tammy Levy, claimed since that last race, moves to the barn of Joe Cantonese. Rider switch here to Edgard Zayas. All we have to do is get the same run Acacia that we got the last time from Primetime Tommy, and he'll be posing for pictures.
Yeah, and that could be a sign if Pete and I are in agreement on the top horse and different opinions on the other 2 runners in our top 3, then totally understandable how this one could be your single in either the Rainbow 6 or the late pick 5. I use the number 2, Unspoken Quality, who hasn't been doing so well just yet. Tried the dirt for the first time in a little while last time out, was 3rd behind Primetime Tommy and Dancing in the Heat, that race that Pete just mentioned last time out, beaten about 5 lengths, but does have the experience running on the dirt after a couple races on the turf, and I thought to throw him in there and then rounded out my top 3 with the number 8, Turkey Ridge, who's adding blinkers, might be able to set a better trip from the outside with the addition of blinkers and show some more early speed, and Jaramillo will be aboard, but you use 2 other horses.
Well, only because I don't like the 1, I don't like the 2, I don't like the 8. With the scratch of the number 7, Persian Poet, that leaves me with Cyber Josh and Kid's Kid. Cyber Josh going in for Trainer of the Week as far as I'm concerned, Barry Rose. He's been doing some good work here the last couple of days. His horse is making his 2nd start off of freshening and drops off the turf. Kid's another horse that when he puts his best game together, he can complete the exotics. Both of those horses will be good prices. Might be a good idea to try to keep Primetime Tommy with one of those price horses underneath.
And see if you can get home something big. Race number 8 is 7.5 furlongs on the turf. It's a maiden claiming. The purse is $19,000 for the maidens 3-year-olds and up. And again, we're all over the place. Lots of wide open races today. And I'll give
hard.
it.
That's true. There's
lots of wide
races.
open races. I'll give it a start because I want to show the video for the number 1, Wonder Frolic. Tried the dirt last time after a couple of races on the turf, but I want to go back to his race on April 27th. This was 2 starts back. He broke from the rail on that day as well. This was his most recent turf start. Emisel Jaramillo was aboard. He climbed off last time. Eddie Castro rode him on the dirt, but Jaramillo is going to be back aboard today, and I really think that this horse will be the speed from the rail, and he showed a lot of early speed in this most recent turf start. This horse, Strong, and the number 3, who's just strong-arming by him, basically was the 1-5 favorite, really dominant, overpowered the field was the call that day, and I think that that's a really good description of what it was. Wonder Frolic, a very game second there, might be able to get his own victory, returning to his preferred surface.
The speed from the ran angle has me concerned if I'm playing against Wonder Frolic because he does look like he'll be on the rail and in front early. Definitely, if he returns to his turf form, it could be a big problem for me because I did not use him.
And you used the number 5, Candy Jam, who I used in 3rd.
Yeah, I didn't know when I handicapped the races yesterday. Of course, we had some rain in the forecast, and we've got no rain at all. It's beautiful right now. So Candy Jam was kind of my hedge play. I liked him better on dirt, but I think he has a chance on grass also. His races on turf are just okay. I figured he'd track Wonder Frolic. I wanted to get first run on Wonder Frolic, and I figured he was the one to do that.
And this might just be the right place for him here in this $20,000 maiden race, and I think that he'll be situated well. I used the 2, Boca Scuttlebutt, although a little bit hesitantly. This one 0 for 20 so far. It kind of, again, just a now or never angle, and you used the 4 and the 6 to round it out.
It's funny you say the phrase now or never. I'd like you to look in my form. What does that say?
Never.
We can't script this, folks. I wrote it in my form, never, and she says now or never, so you know where I stand on
I'm giving him a shot.
You know where I stand on Boca Scuttlebutt. Number 4, Remarkable Tail, gets on the grass for the first time, tries 2 turns again. Actually, it's never been 2 turns, so be interested to see where this horse lands. I completed the ticket with Giant Inca. If it happens to rain before this race runs, you can bet all you want on Giant Inca. I think he's better on dirt than he is on turf, even though if you look on his figures, it looks like he's better on turf. I think it's the other way.
Yep, that one was a bubbler for me, so totally understand you trying to do that. But
a bubbler, I like
that. A bubbler, yes, he was on the bubble. Our last race of the day is race number 9, a mile and a 16th on the turf. Maiden claiming purse $15,000 for the maidens, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. And look, we have the top 2 the same this time, 6 and 8. And this one is my single, Hot. This one moved over to Tampa last time out after trying the dirt here at Gulfstream 2 back at the end of March. Went to the mile and a 16th on the turf last time, showed a lot of speed. I think he'll be the lone speed in this race, might be able to blast off from post 6 and just call it a day. Also adding blinkers, so even more incentive probably to get out to the front. Coming back over, I do think that the turf is his preferred surface as well, and I think that this race could set up well for him.
And huge rider switch here from jockey Cecily Evans to Eddie Castro. That's 5 or 6 lengths unto itself. That's the good news. Here's the bad news, and I'm just playing devil's advocate because I have Hot on top. Hot raced with the bias at Tampa last time out. The turf course at Tampa over the last 3 weeks of the meet was like this table. It was rock hard, and if you were anywhere near the lead, you had a big chance to run well. Hot set of fractions that you should ignore. 22 and a 1 for the opening quarter. That was just the Tampa course. It really wasn't that fast. It was aided by the course itself, but that's just playing devil's advocate. I agree with Acacia. I think this horse is the best in here. Goes gate to wire in the finale.
Sure thing. And then the 8 Perfectress looks to be the one to come back after her. This one that can sit from off the pace and just kind of trying to figure out who else might have a trip behind Hot.
Couldn't have said it any better. The horse last time out that beat Perfectress was Starship Hostility. She was 0 for 100 million, so we'll see how Perfectress runs this afternoon. Interesting company line. Don't know how to make it. If Hot's company lines holds up, I think Acacia's probably right. That's the single in the Rainbow Six.
And then I rounded it out with the 3 Bookkeeper Marie, who often rallies from the outside. If we get Hot coming from the outside and just going out to the front, Bookkeeper Marie, if she's placed a little bit further back, can come around and maybe get a smaller piece of the action like she's done before. It seems like a lateral move over from Tampa, what she's doing. You use the 5 instead.
Yeah, figure-wise, they're about the same. The reason I use the 5 over the 3, can I use your bubbler phrase again?
Sure.
Bookkeeper Marie was a beneficiary of a roughly run race last time out at Tampa. Melodica and some Florida Sun Fun got the best trips, but it was a roughly run race behind. Camacho swung her to the far outside. She avoided trouble and got up for 3rd.
Well, that's how we see the races today. Good luck on this Black-Eyed Susan day. Hopefully you're paying attention to what's going on at Pimlico as well. And Pete will give you the changes in a little bit, and I'll see you throughout the day.
Good luck today.
What do I love about horse racing?